Hey Ron, today we will discuss how to connect your backend server that you're running locally to a locally run database. Now, it will be very high level. We'll not be explaining syntax, but this would be about what you should have in mind. So, if we'll go down to very basics, here is RAM, and in RAM, or in other words memory, what you have is a process that would be running your server. Again, so process is an instance of a server program, and then we have our running server. Now, a database would be another separate program that you need to run. And the way you would, and in our case it would be Postgres. So what we need to do is to make sure that number one, we have the database installed and it's running. Installed and running DB. The way to think about it is, well, installing is simple. In terms of running, Postgres will typically run on a specific port, and the reason why you need port is because Postgres would be listening to connections on this port. All the communication will be done through sockets, and now it's out of scope for this video to be covering sockets, but essentially in order to start running a Postgres, you need, under the hood, it will create a listening socket that will then allow it to track incoming requests. Now the second thing we need to do is to connect to DB from a server. And by the way, so for this we need inter-processes communication, in other words IPC, and in this case it would be sockets. You can have shared memory, message queues, pipes. For this though, it would be sockets. And so now coming back to the second point, we need to connect to a DB from a server, and as part of this connection we need to specify the port that our database is running, then whether it's local or remote. So how do we find our database? And after that, who are we requesting as? So we're requesting as some sort of user that can, write and modify the database. And we need all this information. It's not, we're not deciding it. We have to give this information in order to connect to a database, and that's why we have to know what we need, a database needs from us. So here in this snippet of code we have an import statement to get somebody else's code who wrote that we can use to connect to a database. And what we'll use is we'll create a new instance of a pool object by accessing a pool constructor. Within it, we'll give an object that will have a host. It would be localhost, the port, some sort of number, the database, it would be the database name, and then the user and password that we are connecting it as. After that, we will just have a async function um, where we will execute a query method on a pull object. It is asynchronous, so yeah, after that we'll just return rows. I think before zooming into the code, to summarize, database is a separate process that is running in a different memory on the computer from a server. In order to connect to it, you have to use inter-process communication, and for Postgres it is sockets. You need to turn on the database, or in other words, start running it on a specific port so that it would listen for incoming connections. And then number two, you need to connect server to a database, and this would be using sockets. So you need to you provide the host and the port. After that, you need to select the database and then the user, user for which you'll be accessing it as.